Don't panic, everybody. This is indeed the RCA Service Design Live Services Show. We're just going to wait for people to come in. Nice to meet all those people who are already here. Meanwhile, I have a meeting Judah just getting down to a bit of Kylie. I'll explain why we're celebrating in a moment. Just bear with us. Okay, everybody, thank you very much to Kylie for getting us in the mood. There is a reason to celebrate. I'll be telling you about that in a second. You're very welcome to the very last event, actually, in the 2022 Work in Progress RCA Service Design Show. So there is a bit of a celebration in the air, I feel. My name's Clive Grinier. I'm the head of program here at Service Design, and you're very welcome, as I say, to this last event of the show. This is part of our next Work in Progress show, the class of 2022, getting up, showing the work they've been doing over the last term, since October to Christmas, as they now get ready to start their final project to graduation in June of 2022, when we want you to all come back and do this again. And we'll have even more great music and even more great graphics, and be talking about their final work as they go out into the big wide world as service designers from this 2 years master's course. This year, the class of 2022 celebrates the 10th anniversary of the RCA Service Design course. 2012, Nick DeLeon put together a group of people from incredibly diverse backgrounds, different disciplines, some designers, some not, and invented this course, Service Design. I've been running this course for the last 2 years and enjoyed every minute of the pandemic in those 2 years. It's been a challenge, but it's been great. And as we celebrate the 10th anniversary, we of course celebrate the next 10 years. This is the start of where we're going. Thank you, Judah, my biggest fan there. and exciting it is too. And we'll be talking a little bit about that in a few moments. If we go backwards, see what I did there, then you have back to June, we were celebrating the graduation of our students, and we were able to bring them back into the real world and actually meet up in Albert Hall, with only 1 or 2 cases of COVID afterwards, I'm afraid. But it was fantastic. And we even had a very small physical show. And in June this year, we really will be back with a physical show. We are certain of that. And the students are now back on the course on the campus, I should say, in the studio, working in a hybrid way. You know, we're taking all the advantages of a digital world and recording everything we do, and looking back and reflecting on the design work as it goes through. And it's been fantastic to have students back in the studio, and hopefully that will carry on for the rest of our 10 years. Service design, either to remind you, to restate, or to introduce you to what we mean by service design. We define as being fundamentally human-centered That isn't the same as user-centered. It's about all the humans involved in delivering a service, in who are impacted by a service, and of course, for whom a service is aimed at. But we do care about encouraging organizations to think of people before they think of their processes or products. We use design methods, we visualize, we prototype, we experiment, we map journeys over time. And those design methods, along with other methods such as behavioral science, economics, and lean and agile, excuse me, give us the tools, it's been a long day, to imagine and then deliver a better world, and a world that needs its systems changing, the technology, the platforms, the procedures, the operations, the people again who make decisions and create complex systems, because systems and service design is complex. We'd be mad if we didn't realize that. But we are designers, we are optimists, we have a bias to action. We don't just want to research and analyze, we want to convert that, we want to create new visions and possibilities and actually deliver them. Bias to action runs through everything, a sense of purpose through what we do. As we start this second 10 years of the course, we have created 3 challenge labs, which we want to be platforms to communicate what we do as service designers, to be platforms that bring our collaborators together. This course has always been built on collaboration with organizations who are really trying to effect change, from business to government to societal needs. We're about helping them counter disruption, know how to cope with changing worlds and changing social behaviors and the changing environment more than anything. And so the first 3 challenge labs that we've been showcasing this week with the student works in each one have been social impact. And we kicked off with livable planet. How do we sustain and replenish this planet? And today we'll be looking at life services, which is the launch pad for some future challenge labs, and also a reflection of our very close collaboration that we kicked off this year with EY Seren, who have been an amazing partner to us in terms of mentoring our students, bringing in projects, and being our partners as we go forward, as we hope many other people will be in these challenge labs. So why do we have a challenge lab, and what are the challenges we face? Well, we believe fundamentally that the principles we use in designing services are not just valuable, but inescapable. They're a must-have in creating actionable, impactful, and inclusive solutions to the global challenges we currently have, whether that is social, whether that is a livable planet, whether that is our life skills. We want to focus our partnerships and showcase our progress collaboratively. So we are setting up these challenge labs as the collective vessel of the projects, the knowledge, and future research we will do to show how design and technology and society and politics and everything comes together to create better futures. We want these to be the platforms for the future. So you can look on our website, our own department website, which is the rcaservicedesign.com, nice simple URL. You'll see those challenge labs. You'll see our ambition to collaborate, as we always have since this course was started 10 years ago. We've always collaborated with organizations and looked at the issues, created actions for the issues of our time. Livable planet, building and testing practical solutions, life services that we're looking at today, providing agency to manage our future economic, physical, and mental well-being. So we'll be covering healthcare, we'll be covering financial services as we currently are today, and social impact, looking at the role design can play in unlocking the power of communities, neighborhoods, as the leader of the social impact challenge lab describes it, the single biggest unit of societal change. Each one of these challenge labs has somebody heading it up. And in addition to those 3, we will be launching, by the time we launch our new 1-year course in September, which will concentrate what we currently teach in 2 years into a 12-month course to make it more accessible, more diverse, cheaper, and better. And at that point, we hope to have our challenge labs on financial services and healthcare and ethical data. We have been working on projects in ethical data for a few years now, and policy, and we've worked closely with government departments and policymakers right from the beginning of the course. So over the last few days, we've been showcasing the projects that the students have done in each of those labs. And the largest lab was Livable Planet, perhaps not surprising as it coincided last term with COP26. And we had our project partners, Adidas, working with us to understand circular sport, fashion wear. We had PA Consulting and the Department of Transport working with us on the transition of the UK from fossil fuel powered vehicles to electrically powered vehicles, and the charge stations, and how do we put those charge stations into our local communities. And finally, not mentioned here, an energy company who are looking at the transition to heat pumps. How do we take people on that same transition from their cozy combi gas boilers to a completely different way of heating our house that makes sure our planet remains livable and we can achieve those zero carbon targets. Social impact work with the Ministry of Justice and Catch-22 on prisoners who are out on probation, a broken system where the Ministry of Justice has an appetite to work with us and Catch-22 to fix that, to create prototypes and pilots that will fix a broken system. And we are currently doing that in our social impact lab. And today we're going to look at the work of the students working closely with EY Seren and Nationwide. How can we stop making such terrible financial decisions? How can we have better long-term decisions? You can see I've just given a 3-hour workshop, excuse me. Her voice is completely gone at the end of the show. But these are the kinds of challenges we're up against, and how also can we humanize our digital tools that we have to help people manage their financial decisions. I'm delighted to be welcoming a little bit later on Cam Chana, who some of you may well know from her role as Head of Innovation at Temenos, who's been in conversation with me. She's sitting next to me, so I'm going to look at her. There she is. We've been having so many conversations, we eventually decided to invite her to join our staff only for a short amount of her time of the week, where she's going to help us with, head up this Financial Challenge Lab and work with our students and collaborating partners to create something amazing. And I know that will happen. And we'll be talking to her a little bit later on about some of her plans and thoughts about how financial services are looking at financial well-being. So I have 2 films now. I'm going to show you one film, which is an overview of this body of work. Hear a little bit about from Carolyn Runcie, who's our program manager and was managing this project with the EY Seren and the students. And then a slightly longer film, we'll look at each of the projects that are highlighted here. And when we start that film, I'd like you to pay particular attention to a project you might like to go into the breakout room afterwards and ask some questions of the students who are there. And the students will talk to you, ask you what your questions are, and explain their thinking behind this project. Then we'll have a dialogue. This is their chance to interact with people that has been so cruelly denied by the pandemic. This is the best we can do. So please do give them some time when we've seen these films to hear what they say and ask them questions and give them your advice. So let me run the first film. Let's look at the overview of the projects set by EY Seren and Nationwide on live services.
In the live service lab this term, the students are tasked with looking at why people make decisions against their own best interests. So if they were looking at how to shift mindsets and behaviours of people to drive better financial decisions and ensure lifelong financial stability, safety and stability. This project was looking at the complexity of people's lives, how people manage or don't manage their money and why that is, and then unpacking opportunities by understanding people's circumstances to think about how they might enable people to make better decisions at every point of their lives.
It was a really interesting process defining a direction, navigating through a cloudy problem space where both the how and what are unknown.
So what I find so interesting about service design is that you can easily combine it with different methods like, for example, Lean Startup or Scrum. That's how we were able to develop and test our prototype with our target audience.
Throughout this project, I experienced applying theories for behavior change within the design process.
My favorite part in this project is we try to integrate multiple existing services together. So instead of creating a whole new thing, integrating scattered resources to deliver a cohesive user experience might add more values to both the user and the whole ecosystem. And that's what I learned the most from this project. Yes.
Okay, and now we'll look at each of the projects in turn. And as I said, if you can make a note of ones you particularly like to look at, we're going to give you 15 or even 20 minutes to talk to the students, and maybe you get time to go to a couple of the rooms. So make note of the projects that you're particularly interested in this reel that lasts about 5 minutes or so. Thanks very much.
We were challenged to shift the mindsets and behaviors of people in the UK to drive better financial decisions that ensure lifelong financial safety and stability.
As a research outcome, we decided to focus on the intent savers, as we found the majority of the intent savers are unaware of the drastic difference between annual inflation and overall growth on their savings, which gradually brings down its value. We observe our users need to overcome the behavior barriers in motivation and capability to start making investment decisions.
Vision is a service that can be developed and operated in-house within existing high street and online banks. It integrates different service components and stakeholders in the ecosystem to provide a seamless experience that takes the user through a journey of aided behavioral change.
So, what value does Vision create? We aim to understand the fundamental problem behind any financial decisions and using accessible solutions for users. Vision integrates scattered resources to deliver a cohesive and informed user experience, easy to implement within existing financial service environments.
Wish to start saving with your first job, but having difficulty doing so? Are you feeling you are not saving enough and just do not know where to start? Do you keep looking to your future to start saving? Money management is complicated and difficult. However, what's even more dangerous is staying put. Every year, tens of thousands of young adults are struggling to pay for emergencies, who will turn to their parents for help, or even be in debt. Now is the time to get started, for the uncertainties of tomorrow. Enter Findy, a one-year-long service that aims to build healthy savings behavior. We provide expert-defined milestones to help you start prepping for rainy days. A fully controllable yet automated service ensures you don't bow out during those lazy days. Multiple feedback makes you think, reflect and act at your pace, and before you even realize your healthy financial habits have found in their way. We start with emergency savings, but your road from there on is limitless. Our job is to set your behaviors right, so that all your other goals, whether pensions, investments or insurance, you can start out fearless. Findy is a reliable start for your healthy new financial life.
So there you go. You've seen all the projects there. I hope that's given you a flavour of it. Now's your chance to actually talk directly to each of the teams. John Makepeace, my brilliant assistant here, will magically, the students will go into their rooms, and at the bottom right of the Zoom bar at the bottom, you'll see 4 little squares with a little number on it. And if you click on that, you can see all the rooms there. And if you scroll down, you'll see that the project names are at the bottom of that list. And by clicking on a join button, you can join one of those teams. And when you go in there, we'd like you to say who you are, please, if they forget to ask, and ask your question. So if there's something about the project you're interested in learning about, or an aspect of, you know, why did they make those decisions that they did. This is about discussion, conversation. The students can refer to their presentations and show you more detail. But enjoy the conversation with them. This is what we've been missing. Let's pretend we're all in a big hall at the RCA and we're asking people questions. So go into the rooms, please. If you've got any problem, John and myself are here to try and help you get you into the room you want to go and talk to. And if you're in one room and you want to go and talk to another room, by all means, go there. It's 24 minutes past 5. We'll see how you're doing in 15 minutes, but if you need longer than that, that's absolutely no problem. And at the lunchtime session, we went back into the rooms as well because people had lots of questions. So take your time, have a great conversation, enjoy speaking to the students. Thanks, John. Do your magic. Some say Jedi, I believe.
All the rooms are open now, yeah.
Thank you.
Open now or all the rooms?
Just give us a shout if you want us to help you open the door. Hello, Monica. How are you? Hello, Richard. How are you? You're going to go and talk to some students?
Yeah, I'm going to do my usual thing of looking for the room with fewest people, going out and annoying them.
That's your role.
That's a brilliant strategy.
With a microphone that works today, which is all the more better.
I wanted to go in there, but I went in there this morning. So
yeah, sorry about that. I think I was probably more eloquent in the chat than I was in real life.
Okay. I thought you were doing it on purpose. You were like,
No, my timing isn't that good. It was genuine mic problem. Oh man, Forrest is on his own again. Okay,
I'm going to jump in there as well, actually.
Hi there, everybody. You're on mute. Yeah. Sorry, Cam's just got her first partner in, so that's good news.
Already.
She's way better than Judah and Richard, I tell you.
Glad I'm not part of the competition.
That's how I play it, how I like better, you know. Oh, this is good, this is working better.
So straight in our questions. And Julian is indeed on.
Shall I?
So he's
Oh
a
my God.
research guy from
Oh my God. Okay, I'm just going to do a bit of traveling around, John. See you later.
Great. Hey, Rids.
Hi.
You right?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go join.
Nice.
It's going really well. They're straight into questions. So much better, John. So much better. So I think I'll keep motoring around, just checking on everybody. See you later. And I'll come back and tell you when. We'll give them another 10 minutes at least. Yeah.
Lovely. All good?
Yeah, poor old Forrest has only got Judah, Richard, me, and Serene in there.
Yeah.
So, sorry, we are recording, aren't we? I should edit that bit.
Hi, Karen here.
I go on mute. I think you might be right, about 4 minutes. I'll just have a little run round again, just check. Okay. I'll come back and say, yeah, close them.
Okay. All right. Well, we've got.
They are still some good questions in the. So hold off for a moment.
Sure.
Yeah, we've got plenty of time actually, and we've got more time than we had. So I'll let it run, because it depends whether they want to go back into the rooms afterwards, doesn't it? Let's leave it. Let's let it run.
I think
let it run. Yeah. Let it run. Cam says let it run. So relax. No, Cam says. Yeah, don't worry. We'll tell you when it's. How you doing, Serene? We were thinking we'd just let it run for a bit longer. Do you agree, Serene?
Yeah, we can. I've been just hopping around listening. It's been
It's quite
interesting.
fun, isn't
It's
it?
kind of like I don't really miss financial services.
I think we finally got. I think we finally got the format right at the end. Annoyingly, that's always what happens, isn't it? Yeah, so we'll let it run, and then I'll do my little cam chat. Maybe quarter
How long
two,
was it
something like
supposed to
that.
run?
Say again.
How long was it supposed to run?
I think we said 20 minutes actually, so it will be about that.
Hi, how's it going?
Hi, sorry, I'm just jumping rooms.
Okay, cool. Clive, I might jump in a room if you're going to be here for the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll stay here. You go ahead.
Maybe evolving your
Sorry, I'm listening to Cam and her conversation next to me. It's quite interesting. It was quite fun doing the Nick thing, wasn't it? Wait, we're being recorded, so we'll have that conversation later.
Oh dear, forgot about that.
We're still on YouTube, I think, so we'll edit this out. Sorry. Cam's telling me to shut up.
So hi, so I was just getting myself off mute. How'd it go?
Sorry, we're just, I've got Cam next to me. So I think team.
Are you guys finished? Have you had
Team
some questions?
BCom have finished. So I think maybe
Okay.
is it time maybe now? Yeah, I think, okay, we're bringing them back now, John. Thanks.
Okay. See you in the main room.
So same thing before, do you want to make some comments? Do you want me to ask you the question? Do you want me to? We're wondering, John, if maybe a lot of the guests have left. But let's just see what happens.
Okay.
I can see we've still got Harry Dodds. Who's Harry Dodds?
There he is.
No one else. Okay. There's a couple of people still there.
Okay.
There's Julian as well, Cara.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll carry on, and we can edit the recording to chop out the bits where
There will be some editing.
Serene said something she regretted.
Well, let's,
So I'm going to come off.
there are three watching live on YouTube now as we speak.
Hello, three. Thank you very much for joining us. This is the Service Design Comedy Show. We will edit this out of the recording. It's the last one. Come on. Well, we're just about to come back. So if you are watching on YouTube, that's fantastic, because I'm going to have a very quick conversation with Cam, which will be worth having on the recording, without a doubt. And here we go. Everyone's back. That's great. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much. We really enjoyed dropping in and seeing those sessions. I'm going to take off my fancy virtual background now, because I'm going to reveal where I really am, next to Cam Chana is here. And sorry, let me get rid of that window. Thank you. I know that a few people have dropped off. That's not a problem. We're going to keep the show going. We still have some guests here. So thank you for hanging on. We're going to try and finish at the top of the hour. So we won't keep you too long. But I'm delighted that Cam has joined us today and beyond today. But we're going to just have a little brief conversation with Cam, and maybe we can open this up to students and any of the visitors here in the remaining sort of 50 minutes or so. But I wanted to ask you, Cam, what are the big themes around financial services, around well-being, and what's going on in the world of FS, and how can people manage their lives?
Well, you can see just from these projects alone, there's a lot going on in financial well-being. But firstly, well done to all the teams for your presentations and your breakout sessions. I sort of surfed through most of them, and they look like they went very well, and you got a lot of good feedback. So thank you very much to the guests as well. I think it's very clear from these projects and the work that the RCA has been doing with EY Ceron as well, and other partners, that the three sort of biggest themes coming through in a way are ethics and financial well-being, ESG, obviously, but also communities. And therefore, the bigger theme that's coming through behind all of that is human first. And that presents many challenges for large organizations, because the reality of human first is that you've got to find ways of creating that positive change and the positive behavior. And that's not always easy for banks to do, because banks have financial pressures and shareholder pressures and so on and so forth. So purpose-driven banking is a big theme we're seeing at the moment. We're getting a lot of interest from a lot of banking partners. But the challenge that I'm hoping that we'll see more and more of in the Financial Services Challenge Lab is, how do you create a win-win? How do you align the needs and the goals of humans with the planet and with the profit expectations of banks? Because that's a third factor we can't really afford to ignore. The financial services industry is an incredibly large and powerful vehicle in how we can start to impact climate change and sustainability, mental health, human resilience, and so on and so forth. In and amongst that, there's a couple of themes that underpin the possibility of success. And I'd say, just again, looking through these projects, one of the key ones is behavioral science and behavioral psychology. Now, this is a challenge in itself, because none of us are, well, at least I'm not a trained psychologist. We read up a lot on what are the levers and the nudges that we can work with, the points of influence and persuasion. But in reality, we know that coupled with the power of the banks, and that coupled with the green agenda, is what we need to find a sweet spot in to impact real change. So there's huge amount of challenges. All of it comes down to not necessarily being transactionally oriented, so moving banks and organizations and financial services away from just doing what they're doing today, which is deliver you better products, and moving to a paradigm and a mentality and a business model where it's more about the relationship. It's more about the relationship with the individuals who are running their day-to-day banking, or the individuals who are creating and setting up small businesses, or turning those into scale-ups and turning those into corporates. Behind all of these different verticals of the banks are humans, and humans have a set of behaviors that can be, in a way, optimized to try and help the bank survive, but ultimately help themselves survive on a day-to-day basis, but also on a long-term basis. So it's a real sort of melting pot and a Venn diagram of lots of different needs that need to be connected somehow. And it's actually an incredibly exciting time for banking, because it's being reinvented by the day. I mean, what I've seen just over the last 10 years or so has been the kind of accelerated change that very few industries are seeing. So the urgency is there, the investment is there, the drive is there, and clearly the talent is there as well. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of these types of projects. We'd love to bring more partners in and try and turn them into commercial reality, and collectively try and change the financial services sector.
Wow, thank you, Cam. I'm wondering if anybody out there has any questions for Cam or any students. Keep the conversation going for a few minutes by all means. Otherwise, I'll end up having to ask questions for Cam. Any thoughts, any observations on the work you've seen? I have to say, I think it's been a tremendously successful show. It's been great to focus on these projects today. And well, both Cam and I were once colleagues without knowing it at Barclays. And we know there are many challenges in achieving some of the things. I mean, if I was going to ask a question, unless there's anyone coming in which case shout, but I was going to ask you, you paint a fantastic vision there, but we know there are real challenges in getting banks thinking about some of the things you're talking about. And you've been doing that for quite a few years now. Yeah. What's your top tip, or what do you think are the challenges, we have to really address?
Some of the challenges are quite interesting, because a lot of the time, the starting point for a lot of banks wanting to innovate is we need to get digital. And the pandemic exacerbated that. Obviously, because people were walking into branches. But the reality is that digital just moves the existing banking model to a new interface. Nothing changes. So it's the same model that's been around for hundreds of years, just through a really nice sort of slick interface, which helps no one. And so one of the biggest challenges when innovating with banks is the education side of the fact that we're not just trying to create pretty screens. We're not just redesigning what you've already got. We're fundamentally deconstructing what you've got and then reconstructing it in a way that creates new value. It all really has to come back to value. And then that value has to be sustained through the organization. So it can't just be, again, here's a really cool idea, go in, build it. It's how do you change the culture behind that idea? How do you change the target operating model behind that idea? How do you change the architecture behind that idea? The data architecture, the people architecture. There's layers and layers of the organization that has to support innovation, and it can't just be at that surface technology level. That's quite tough as service designers to get your head around, because suddenly you're becoming consultants, and you're starting to look at the entire organizational structure and how it might actually be rigged against the kind of change and behavior change that you're trying to promote. So it's really worthwhile when investing with banks, and not innovating with banks, to almost take on a detective role and start to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. What would stop us from making this change? What would stop us from implementing this? What will get in the way? And that in itself helps you create a much more effective result and prototype that's thinking through the broader problems of the organization, rather than just the fact that they don't have a cool app for millennials.
Anchit's popped a question in there. Can you see that? Do you want me to read it out? How do we shift from shareholder capitalism to considering about broader ecosystems like the environment and communities? Is it solely regulation that can shift the focus?
It's regulation is a big stick, in my view and in my experience. I'm a big believer in the carrot. I'm a big believer in, it's almost kind of like the Tai Chi of organizations. You have to work with the energy of the organization to create that value. So you have to understand what makes the organization tick. Banks are there to make profit. They're there to survive. They're there to make profit. They're there to increase the shareholder value. If you can use those levers in a positive way to instill your change, then you start to create stakeholder value. And in reality, there are only three aspects to all of this. There's providing benefit to people, providing benefit to the planet, doing it in a way that creates profit. And you can't do all of this without profit, otherwise we're just dreamers. And that's not necessarily going to land well with the potential organizations who can implement this, because they have a set of criteria and objectives and metrics that they deliver to. And that's the reality of the world that we live in. So regulators are great, but they are the lowest common denominator of what all organizations need to do to be compliant. We as designers and we as people who have worked in banks or will work in future banks, we have to create the carrot version of why would we do this? Because it'll create new markets, it'll create new services, it'll create new revenue models. Does that answer your question, Anshit?
I'm just going to have a look at the chat again. What are your thoughts on decentralized finance? Should we as service designers start utilizing these tools or or should we wait for them to be regulated?
Oh, that's a big topic for the last couple of minutes.
It is, isn't it?
I think the reality of service designers is our job is to look at all new technologies coming through and not necessarily start with the technology in mind or the big theme in mind, but look at where decentralized finance may provide a benefit. So to give you an example, we did some work some years ago with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, where we started to look at an element of decentralized finance for servicing the poor. So there are lots of good use cases out there already, but I would definitely start with a problem in mind rather than the market shift or the new technology or the new type of currency.
Brilliant. Good answer.
Thank you.
I think, unless there's any other questions, I think I might just begin to close proceedings. If you are still around, thank you very much for hanging on with us. And I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Yes, I can. And I'm going to make sure we play out with Kylie as well, as it's the last show. So just a reminder to everybody, thank you for staying, if you're still here, or if you're watching this later on YouTube, we have a website. It's an archive of all the student project work. It's rcaservicedesign.com again. Do look at that website. It has all the, go back to 2020, I think, the WIP Show 2020, and it will carry on being the archive for all the work that we have. You'll also notice when you look at the projects, you can actually set up a quick conversation by Calendly or occasionally just emailing the students. So do that. Do tell your friends about this site, about this show, about the work of the students, and get them to talk. We're going to want you to all come back and see us again in 6 months' time for the actual graduation. The website has everything you need to know about the 3 challenge labs we've just launched. On the website, you'll see the current project partners, all the stakeholders. This happens to be the social impact lab version there. And of course, the student projects. And there again, you can get in touch. This is about being in touch with the next generation of students that are out there, and you can deep dive into the projects again and have all the material you need there. That's it. There is no more of this WIP show. This is the last show that we've had. We've had 3 days of fantastic student presentations. We've had our alumni this morning. We had Nikos and Nafisa, who just got their first $500,000 for Quirk, their money management app that was incubated in Innovate RCA, which has, I think, a higher level of success than the Oxford and Cambridge incubator labs right now. And we've had 2 versions, 2 goes at showing you this great work that we've got here. Let's just remind you, it's about them. It's about the students. This is the class of 2022. They've had it tough. They had their whole year online. Thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for joining us online if you're watching the recording. Come back in June and see how this class is getting ready to go out there in the world. Watch out, watch this space. They're amazing. Thank you so much for taking part. And thank you, by the way, to John Makepeace and everybody who made the films in these last 3 days we've been showing. And thank you, students, for your exceptional work. It was last Thursday I first presented it at the VIP show opening. I'd forgotten to stand back and look at the quality of the work, and I was quite overcome with how amazing across all these challenge labs that we formed the work of the students has been. We're courageous and we're curious and we're collaborative, and those are, I think, are the 3 finest attributes we could have and that these students certainly have. So thank you so much for joining us for this show, for this event tonight. It's been a huge pleasure having you here. Keep in touch, and we'll see you in June, if not before. thank you very, very much for joining us. It's been a brilliant show. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh, and thanks, Cam.